Sports.
TD Sports. Let's go check. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another edition of TD Sports Talk. Hope everybody is doing well. I'm here with my friends and my co-hosts. I got my man D Free here with me, and I got my man Socrates Palmer, who just made it in time. And tonight we have a very special guest that we're bringing to the show. I think it's the first time for us on this show. We've had guests in the past, but I think this may be the first time we've got an international boxing Hall of Famer on the panel. So without further ado, let me bring on the commish, Randy Gordan. Randy, what's going on, Randy? How's everything?
Everything is great. I mean, everything was great right up until December 5th, and that's when I got the unbelievable call from Ed Brophy at the Hall of Fame. I mean, I knew that I was on the ballot. With some incredible names in the observer category, some of the best writers I've ever read. I really think Tom Cushman, the late, great Tom Cushman from Philadelphia Daily News, was going to get in. But then all of a sudden I get a call on December 5th from Ed Brophy, and he said, "I want to congratulate you." And when I heard that, I mean, I just went numb with joy. And I got in the observer category with an amazing producer, HBO's longtime producer, Ross Greenberg. So, you know what I've done? I mean, I was putting on a couple of pounds here and there. And starting January 1st, I went on a massive workout diet. I'm a big ice cream eater. I haven't had 1 teaspoon of ice cream, no cookies, no cake. I've got 12 grandkids. We've had a lot of birthdays. I haven't had 1 piece of cake. And I'm in the gym 7 days a week. And I've lost about 21 pounds.
Congrats on that. That's awesome.
I mean, I feel just unbelievable. Who knows? Maybe Jerry Cooney and I will each have our own comebacks.
and speaking of Jerry Cooney, you guys do a show together, right? On Sirius Radio?
Since 2009, every Monday and every Friday from 3 p.m. Eastern time till 5 p.m. drive time, we do a 2-hour boxing show called At the Fights. And tomorrow we're back on the air again. Been doing it now 16 years with Cooney. I love that guy.
No, he's good. He's a class act and very friendly guy. And he's always at the fights, especially if they're in the Garden. He's usually there, and even in the Barclays, he's there and greeting everybody. And you can't miss him. He towers over everybody.
In fact, here's my. I'm drinking my coffee right now from my Cooney and the Commish coffee mug.
Nice. Oh, that's what's up. So, obvious question. I know D Free and Sock, you guys feel free to jump in and ask questions as we go along. We got a couple of big topics we definitely want to speak about, and one of the reasons why we worked you in. But how does it feel to just to be elected into the Hall of Fame? Like, what does that mean to you as far as with your career?
I'm going to have to be talking about this between now and I have to get used to it because I'm like a very emotional guy. And every time I think about this, and when somebody like you asks me the question, it's like I almost get weepy. I mean, I'm in this game. I got in the game right out of high school. When I was in college, I was already in boxing. And I never thought of anything like a Hall of Fame. I just did it because I loved it. And then I was able to make a few bucks writing a story here and there. And I said, man, this is great. I'm writing boxing. I'm going to boxing. I'm getting paid for it. What is better than this? And it was all those years ago. So, I mean, to ask me how it feels, it's just a dream come true. And I give a lot of speeches at high schools and colleges, and I tell everybody, keep dreaming your dream because I know I can tell you that dreams come true.
And Randy, that's you just saying that because you just got elected in the Hall of Fame. We've had you on. We just started this podcast back in 2023. Me and Socrates, and then we added D Free, who's been excellent to the podcast as well with his knowledge. And this is what you told all three of us. You told us those exact words, like that dreams can come true and keep pushing. And if you have a love for something, to go ahead and keep pushing it. So that was very genuine words that you just said there.
Well, it all goes back, and I don't know if I told this story, but it is in my book that I wrote, Glove Affair, and I'm writing the sequel to it called Glove Story. When I was 10 years old, I was severely burned on my right leg in a gasoline explosion. And for the first couple of weeks, I was at death's door. And I remember hearing the doctors outside my room who were making their rounds. And then I heard them say, okay, this next one, he's a 10-year-old boy named Randy, 3rd-degree burns, right leg, prognosis, we don't think he's going to make it. The burns are too extensive, and he only weighs like 60 pounds. I was a little kid. And for several weeks, I remember when I heard that, I didn't even want to go to sleep, afraid that, well, that's going to be it. So I gave the nurses and doctors a hard time. And then, one thing led to another. And when it was apparent that, yeah, I was going to make it, but I would never walk again. So they decided maybe to amputate my leg. And I fought with them. I pleaded with my parents not to let them amputate my leg. And they tried to explain to me that you'll never walk again. Why drag a dead leg around with you? And I said, just give it time. Maybe it'll come back. And guess what? We gave it time. It did come back. And they said, but you'll never get out of the wheelchair. You'll never be able to walk correctly. And that's when on my 11th birthday, rather, in March of 1960, I saw my very first fight on television. It was Emil Griffith against Denny Moyer. Little did I know that down the road, the two of them are going to become friends of mine. Emil Griffith is going to become one of my best friends. He's going to train the heavyweight that I manage and take him to the heavyweight championship of the world, Bone Crusher Smith. But that night, watching them on television, sitting in front of the television in my wheelchair, all I wanted to do was kind of be like them and get out of the wheelchair and just be able to move a little bit. And then I got hooked on boxing right away. And then a few weeks later, my parents walked into the den where I was in front of the television, and they watched me push myself out of the wheelchair and stand up on my own for the very first time in about 9 months. And my mother was about to just quickly grab me, and my father held up his hand. He said, just wait. And I didn't even see them there. And I got in front of the television and I started just mimicking them and trying to move around. And that's the thing, the impetus that got me out of that wheelchair. And then I started bouncing around like a fighter and bringing my legs back. And then they put me in a pool and I became an outstanding swimmer. To this day, I'm an outstanding swimmer. I mean, I spent my college years as a lifeguard down Jones Beach on Long Island. And it was all because I saw Emil Griffith and Denny Moyer bouncing around, which gave me that drive that said, I want to walk. I want to dance. I want to do what they're doing. And it pushed me and it just gave me the love for boxing. And I always, the doctor said, you can't do this. You won't be able to do this. Well, they said I can't. I did. And I'm going to continue to do things that people say you can't do.
Wow, that's an incredible story. And I don't know if people know this. We were just talking about it before we got on. You ended up, fighting in the amateurs. You ended up boxing and you had a pro fight, right?
Yeah, I had a pretty decent amateur career. I was 37-2. And my last amateur fight was in 1972. Then I got married and I went from about 122 pounds soaking wet to about 147. And in training, I just kind of remembered myself as a 122 pounder and I didn't eat right. I just ate like yogurts all day long. And I cut down to 122. I had no strength. And the last minute replacement that they put me in with, they announced him in the ring that night as 128. I was 122.
Oh, wow.
After the fight, I asked him, how much did you really weigh? He said 138.
Wow.
So I was a super bantamweight. So he was featherweight, junior lightweight, junior welterweight, 4 weight divisions up from me. So I'm kind of proud that I made it to the second round.
Wow. Unbelievable. Guys, you could come in whenever you want, but
well, it's funny. The willpower that you showed at a young age. Boxing has always been thought of as a metaphor in life, and you were a fighter at a young age. Recovering from that horrific accident. And speaking of willpower, you talked about birthday cakes. You celebrated a birthday not too long ago. Belated birthday.
Earlier this week, yes, I did. And it was very tough not to eat the cake. I told you. I am on this total just good food diet. In the morning, usually every day I have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then massive snacks in between. Now, I do not start with breakfast. I start with a brunch, and my brunch is usually a healthy shake. It could be a veggie kind of shake, a green shake. It could be a fruit kind of smoothie that I make up with an avocado, banana, blueberries, chia seeds, and it's filling. And then I don't eat anything until dinner. No snacking whatsoever. And the weight is just falling off of me. And, I got one of my favorite jerseys on right now, my Ali jersey. And before there was a nice paunch over here. Ain't there? Not there anymore.
Good for you. Now,
we got to talk after this, and you're gonna help me out. I got to get rid of this pouch too. I know Sock was gonna say it, so I beat him to it because I know he was gonna get me. I know it.
It's not about you. It's not about you tonight. Now, we know that
it's not. It's not about me at all. No,
it's not about you tonight.
Okay, all right.
What now? This isn't the first Hall of Fame you've been inducted in.
No, it was back in 2004. I got inducted into the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame. In 2016, into the New York State Ring 8 New York State Boxing Hall of Fame. And then last September, I got inducted into the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. And now the big one coming up in June. And I've also been told, I don't want to mention the one, but I got a call the other day that there's going to be one more coming up next year. So I'm like, oh my God. Again, this is just one big dream for me. So to be put in anybody's Hall of Fame is like, they're kidding, right? I'm just the fan who got the job.
Mm. That's awesome. D3, you got anything? Because I got a question, but I want everybody to get their turn with the commish.
You go ahead. I was thinking of what I was going to ask next, but Sock already asked him. But go ahead, Thomas.
Sorry.
All right, before we continue, let me just shout out everybody in the chat. I won't do it individually, but I see I'll shout out some of you. I appreciate you guys coming through, whether you're watching on Commission's channel, Deep Freeze channel, or my channel. We definitely appreciate you. You know, we got a bunch of things to cover, and I don't want to keep the commission up too late because he's a very busy man.
Actually, I got to tell you something. I'm going to be very late tonight because I'm putting my show together for Sirius XM, and I got so much work to do. But I've done about 80% of the work. But going to bed early is not in my book.
Nice. Well, so we got the feeling out process out of the way. Let's get to it. There's a lot of news this week. In my opinion, I mean, somebody may have something else. The big news of the week is Dana White and Turkey.
Yeah.
Staking their claim that they're in the boxing business. What are your initial thoughts?
I think, and there's going to be people on both sides of this, I think it's going to be maybe the best move that boxing has ever seen. And I know there's going to be the other side that say, are you crazy? This is going to hurt boxing. It's going to take many champions away. But I could easily dispute that. I think it's going to bring fans back to this sport like we haven't seen maybe since I started in this sport in 1967.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a big power move. They certainly got the capital behind it. The money. It's ESPN is involved, I'm sure. Sometimes you need to break things down from the foundation, to build it back up. And boxing is, if anyone is to blame, it's boxing itself, right? They left this door open. I have mixed feelings on Dana White, but you got to give the devil his due. The UFC is probably the fourth biggest brand in sports behind football and baseball and basketball, in this country at least. So I think they're probably just going to follow the same UFC model. I don't know, Tom, Deep Free, what are you guys thinking? I'm on the fence still.
I'm on the fence too. Me and Kamish, we spoke briefly about it yesterday. I think it's a good idea in the beginning. I just want to see how it's going to progress, and then I want to see what are the fighters they're going to sign to it. So Dana White, I don't know if people know this. Dana White's already involved in boxing already. He works closely with Loeffler 360. And as a matter of fact, he's got a guy there that's going to fight this Sunday for St. Patrick's Day. Right, the day before St. Patrick's Day, and Callum Walsh, who's a good-looking fighter. I think he's a good fighter in the tough division, and he's got some fighters on that roster, on that 360 roster. So, I wonder, besides those guys, because you got to assume that he's going to take those guys in. Who else is he's going to have to this, this TKO brand, as far as this league is concerned?
Well, a couple of questions to be answered there. Is it going to be a league, as we know, is this going to be a league like baseball with a season and teams, the New York, whatever, the Washington, whatever? I don't think so. There was another league that actually they tried to make a go of it. I think they're still doing it, but I think they failed miserably. It was called Team Combat League. And each team last year was supposed to fight 10 times. Look, if you're in a league, you have a schedule. and every team is going to play the same amount of games, fight the same amount of fights. And I know the Washington team in Team Combat League last year fought 3 times, as opposed to, I think there was the team in Boston, which fought about 10 times. I think Philadelphia, they fought about 10 times. So why did Washington only fight 3 times? As a matter of fact, Washington had a heavyweight on there who won all 3 of his fights. And quite frankly, he comes from Baltimore. I think he would have beaten every heavyweight who was out there. So I don't think this is going to be a league with Turki Al-Sheikh and Dana White and Nick Khan from the WWE. But I think they're going to try to put it under one big umbrella, like the UFC.
Right.
And I've heard on pretty good source now, I'm a columnist for Ring Magazine. I write a column every month called Commissioner's Corner. And Turki Al-Sheikh bought Ring Magazine last year with money out of his own pocket. I think he spent like $11 million. I haven't bought many things lately for $11 million. As a matter of fact, I haven't bought anything for 11. But that's how much money these guys have. And with him owning Ring Magazine, there's a part of me, as the former editor-in-chief of Ring Magazine, I'm always going to have Ring Magazine tattooed on my chest. I mean, on my heart. Want to hear something funny? When I started at the Ring with Bert Sugar in 1979, I signed my name, Randy, with a different kind of R. But when I started at Ring, I looked at the Ring R and I said, I'm going to start signing my name just with the Ring R. So the big sweeping Ring R and then Andy. And my wife, who's Ronnie, Roni, whenever we sign our cards, I put the big Ring R and then Andy and then Oni right in there. But everything I do is with that Ring R. So everything I think of now in boxing is Ring. And I have a feeling that because of the Ring ratings and the Ring titles, this new league, whatever you want to call it, TKO league, is going to be using only the Ring ratings, the Ring championships. And I think in the next couple of years, you're going to see the weakening and maybe even dissolving of some of the sanctioning bodies. And to that, I applaud that.
So
I mean,
how would the ranking system work? How would they go about choosing the rankings of these fighters? And then are they only going to rank the fighters that are signed under them? Like if they're still signed with other promotions that are, fighting under these other sanctioning bodies, can they still be ranked?
That is a very good question. And it's a question that I do not have an answer for. And I think the only 3 people, maybe 2 people, I don't know that Nick Khan would have an answer to that. And I'm not even sure that Dana White and Turki Al-Sheikh would. Because obviously, they can't sign every fighter at once from all over the world. But they are going to have their ratings. So let's go to the 122 pounders, by the way, because the 122 pounders have one of my very favorite fighters, Naoya Inoue, the monster from Japan. Now, I can't tell you that they're going to sign him. Maybe he'll decide to just stay where he is. But the fact is, when it comes to 122 pounders, he happens to be the Ring champion. I think in the 16 divisions that they rate, I believe they only rate 7 champions. And I think in 9 divisions, they say title vacant. And the reason that is Ring Magazine they take the champion and they draw the line, the lineage line. He beat the man who beat the man who beat the man, so forth and so on. And if you don't have that lineage, then you're not the champion. You're just another belt holder. So my guess is that to keep this thing very above board is that they're not going to have 2 or 3 guys from Ring Magazine do the ratings. They may have 200, 300, 400 people from around the world. Maybe you guys would be on there amongst the ring panel. And once a month, let's say the first day of every month, you will be getting your updated ratings in the mail, in the email, and with a list of maybe 30, 40 fighters in each division. And then you electronically punch in, this guy is number 1, this guy is number 2, this one is number 3. And then you send it back in, and then through the computer, they're going to have it. The ratings will then be compiled, each division, heavyweight, cruiserweight, or bridgerweight, if you will. I don't even know if that division is going to keep going, but cruiserweight, light heavyweight, and on down. And with that, I do believe they are going to be using only the ring ratings, which to me is great, because now you'll know who the champion is. You don't have to worry who's the WBA champion, who's the WBC, the IBF, the WBO, the whatever. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And I like that idea, 1 champion for each weight. I think that's the way it should be. That's the way it used to be when it first started. And, in the old days, you had 1 champion each weight. I think that's the way it should be. I think it's a matter of how we get there. Like they used to vote. You were selling, I saw your show yesterday. You're selling how you used to mail in the votes. It'll take you like a few days to pick the guys, and there'll be a point system based on number 1, 10
It
points.
took me a week.
Yeah.
It took me, and I'm not talking 9 to 5. Many times I would just go into the office. Remember, back from 79 to 84, when I was at Ring, we didn't have computers. We had something called, you guys haven't heard of this, it's called a typewriter.
I've used the typewriter.
Did you probably use a Selectric?
Yeah.
Yeah. I used an old Remington Rand, and I even on my Remington RAND, I put a Y after the RAND, and then I put my Remington Randy typewriter. Which, in fact, in several of my editorials in Ring Magazine, you could see me sitting behind my Remington Randy typewriter.
Wow.
Just going back on the sanctioning bodies, they do. One thing that they do offer is opportunities for fighters to make money. So if you, let's say, just to push back against the whole idea of the 1 title, lineage, because it's prize fighting for a reason, and then you also get into the danger of a monopoly. I believe, and just my hunch, I think Dana White, in all his arrogance, and who's going to tell him no? He's right. He built a monster franchise in the UFC. I think he's going to go from scratch. I think he's going to use TV to build up his own stars. He's going to, kind of similar to PBC. I think he's going to use that same platform of like that reality show. He's going to have a tournament.
Oh yeah.
And I think they're probably going to go back to the original weight classes. I think they're going to get rid of the original. They're going to go back to the original weight classes. So we're going to have featherweight, lightweight, welterweight. I think that's something that's coming.
I've thought about that, but guys have changed so much. You take a look at the 154 pounders. I think the 154 pounder is a very needy. We need that division because these guys are basically too big to make welterweight, and maybe at this point a little bit too light to make middleweight. You take a guy like Xander Zayas. This is that 21-year-old undefeated sensation who does not kill himself to make 154 pounds. I'd like to see that division stay. I've gotten used to the 168-pound division because of Canelo Alvarez. And I think maybe because of Terrence Crawford hanging around so long for it at 140 pounds, and now you see how many great 140-pounders are there. I wonder if they're going to get just do away with a lot of the in-between, like Naoya Inoue's 122-pound division. We'll see about that. But here's the thing about, somebody mentioned to me today, but look at all the unification fights that you're going to miss. Look what just happened with Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol. I said, wait a minute. That was a unification fight. That how long had we waited for that fight? And there was that one time that the two champions met, and then Beterbiev won, and now Bivol was a contender. Then they went at it again. Now Bivol is the champion, and I'm hearing we're going to do it a third time. But I think with new ratings and just one champion, I think that you're going to start seeing, just like on the UFC cards, you're going to see a title fight, maybe two title fights. Got to remember, those are 5-round fights. In boxing, we've got 12-round fights. But I think you're going to see 1 or 2 title fights and maybe 1 or 2 other fights on the card involving maybe the number 3 contender against the number 6 contender, the number 8 contender against the number 2 contender. I think you're going to start seeing much better fights. And that's what us fans, the fans want to see, the great fights.
Right.
Definitely. I agree with that. There's a question in the chat, or maybe a statement. And I think we might have went over it, but I'll just read it. This is coming from Teach. If there's one champion, how do they streamline the fights to get beat, to fight the best? We currently have 4 bodies with 15 ranked fighters, and the best aren't fighting the best now. Will TKO change it? I think that's what we're mentioning. You know, how they're going to get to it with the ranking system. So, and then I think you touched up on it, where 2 would fight 8, 3 would fight maybe 4 or 6, and stuff like that. I think that's what the promise, or the premise, I guess we should say, of what TKO says they're going to do.
I believe it's going to be one set of ratings, and we're going to have to get used to that one set of ratings. Look, when I was growing up, a kid of the 60s, and I was in school, instead of reading my English, instead of reading Aeschylus and Euripides, I was reading Nat Fleischer and Dave Anderson and guys like that in Ring magazine. And I'd have my Aeschylus and Euripides book over here, but I'd have my Ring magazine right underneath the book, and I'd be skimming through it. That's of course the new Ring magazine, and I'd be reading every single line of type, knowing every single result, rings around the world, and the ratings of Ring magazine is all that really mattered to me. I realized there were fighters all over the world, but there were 10 fighters that I got to know the names of. And it was those fighters out there, their job to try to get into the top 10, the elite 10.
Yeah. And that's something that needs to be worked on. And look, Teach again with a comment. He says, if there's 60 fighters fighting for a chance to get one belt, how do we fight? How do we find out who's the best? How do they know who's going to fight who to work their way up? It's going to be,
They're not. I think. I mean, look, if a fighter is under the top ranked band and they have 2 or 3 years, they're not going anywhere. And now, considering if Top Rank stays in business, same thing with the other promotions.
Queensberry, Matchroom,
Right. I think there's a lot of young fighters and from a personal standpoint, that just can't get fight days, and those are going to be the ones that are going to go into this, and they're going to build them up. They're going to make them into stars, kind of like the Contender series.
Yes, and
The blueprint is there.
I do think that the TKO League is going to come up with some other champions as well. Look, all the sanctioning bodies, they have what they call their interim champion.
Yeah.
And they call it champion. It's really the number one contender, but they call them the interim champion so they can get a sanctioning fee.
Yes.
That's all it is.
Yes.
It's a fancy term. It's the number one contender. It's next in line, but you're the interim champion. So when you fight for that interim trinket belt, you got to pay them a fee. Well, I think under the new banner, there may be their own, perhaps, interim championship fights. We'll have to see. But I do believe they're going to have a set of ratings. And quite frankly, if you take everybody's ratings right now, every sanctioning body, and you look at their top 10, some guys in the top 10 are not in the top 10 of the other sanctioning bodies. So you might have a top 10 in 5 different divisions, and you may have, that would be 50 fighters. You may have 28 different fighters in the top 10. Well, sorry, you can only have 10 contenders, and they might do it the top 20. I think boxing's in for some very exciting times with this new TKO League.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I think my main question is how are they going to get these fighters, especially the ones that are looking for fights. Like Sock was mentioning, and I know he's speaking of one personally in particular. We have one guy here in the Bronx it's hard for him to get fights. He's an undefeated fighter, and how would we get somebody like him to be in that league that he could get more competition and more competitive fights and move up in those rankings. To one, get noticed, and 2, to be eventually fight to be put into that top 15, top 10 category for a title.
Well, let me put it to you this way. Here we are in 2025. What was it like in 1925, in 1935, in 1945? There was no internet, there was no social media, there was no WBC, BA, IBF, or any other. It was just Ring Magazine. And there was the New York State Championship, but it was the same thing. Fighters were all over the world, and there was only a select few that got to the top. It can only be that way.
Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah. I mean, and then the sanctioned bodies, like I never understood like all these continental belts. That's another one. You had the interim, then you had all these continental champions, like Kalen Walsh. He's got one of those titles too that they're fighting for. Like it's a 10-round continental title or whatever it is.
Continental title, the America's title, the North American Boxing Federation. They may call it something else. The TKO America's belt or something. They're going to come up with things.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Dana is creative. And I'm also hearing that, well, we know this, and it's not a rumor, but ESPN is going to be leaving Top Rank when their deal is done in July. Where are they going? They're going to be putting on boxing, I assure you. UFC Fight Pass could very possibly start doing a lot of the fights. DAZN is going to do, I think, a lot more of the fights. I think ESPN is going to start. They're going to be listening to TKO. And it's not even going to surprise me if, like, Amazon jumps into the fray. And do not put this out of the realm of possibility that one of the networks, the NBCs, the CBS, the ABCs, maybe all of them will get back into boxing once the sanctioning bodies are gone. You never know what's going to happen.
And
That's true.
don't forget about two companies that have a lot more money or that can match money: Netflix, Apple. Look, it's going
Yeah.
to be so much exposure. I mean, Netflix is probably going to be the big player, and they're already in bed with the WWE, TKO. So I could definitely see them being on, carrying that product. I wonder if with this with this project, if it's gonna bring some unity amongst the promoters. Now like they're gonna kind of like, okay, circle the wagon, so to speak. Are we gonna see Golden Boy at Top Rank, buddy up,
See, I think it's going to affect the big guys more than the little guys. I think the Golden Boys are going to be affected. They have a lot of outstanding fighters. I think it's going to affect the top ranks. I think it could affect Queensberry. I think it over in England. I think it could affect Matchroom and maybe one or two others. But the smaller promoters, those are like the feeder leagues, and this is exactly
right?
what Dana White wants. I mean, where's he going to get all these 4-round guys from in the 6th round? Because the 4-rounders eventually become 6-rounders, and the 6-rounders become 8-rounders, and the 8-rounders become main event fighters. So they love, like, for instance, next Saturday, as a matter of fact, on the 22nd, I'm going to be in Atlantic City. I'm going to be calling a fight on DAZN for Boxing Insider, Larry Goldberg's promotion, and he opened up Atlantic City again, and he's running at the Tropicana. And I do those shows with young trainer Henry De Leon, and he brings a whole different perspective, that youth movement. I bring that older perspective, but I'm not one of these older guys who won't change my feelings. I always keep an open mind as to everything I see, and then I'll make an educated decision on it.
I miss Atlantic City. When Atlantic City used to be
Oh my God.
Arturo Gatti. It's missed, especially
But
when
it's
you.
coming back. They've been more and more fights has been coming to Atlantic City. I mean, you got a big fight coming up next month too, in April. Boots Ennis fighting Stanionis. That's a big fight. That's in Atlantic City. Boardwalk Hall. It's going to be in Boardwalk Hall. That's a huge card.
Yes, it is. And there's more coming. There's I think it's in late May. I think the IBF convention is going to be in Atlantic City, and they're going to be putting on another show at the Tropicana, another Boxing Insider show. And boxing is returning to Atlantic City, and their great commissioner, their terrific commission, Larry Hazard and Rhonda Utley, they are doing an incredible job. The two of them have been teamed up at the New Jersey Boxing. It's the what is it? The New Jersey State Athletic Control Board, as opposed to New York State Athletic Commission. But Larry Hazard and Rhonda Utley do as fine a job as any two commissioners in this country, and they run a very tight ship. Everybody's got to be licensed, medically approved before anybody steps into the ring. But it's fun to be back on the boardwalk again, and knowing that I'm heading over to the hotel where it's going to be packed tonight for the fights.
Yeah. And they fixed up. Atlantic City's been fixed up. It's much different than what it was 20 years ago too. Yeah. So I mean, it's much nicer. I think they built a water park over there too. Over there, I mean, it's much nicer. I was there a couple of years ago, vacation with the family, and we enjoyed it. And we was like, it's not the same, So I look forward to these fights in Atlantic City.
I truly love it. Back in the 80s, when I was with Ring Magazine, I was down there almost every single week. Because remember, at that time, I was announcing for ESPN, USA Network, Madison Square Garden Network. And if I wasn't announcing for any one of them, I was just covering it for Ring Magazine or somebody else. every single week. And most of the time, I jumped on a bus from the Port Authority. I remember no computers. I brought a bunch of pads with me, and I was writing the stories out by hand on the bus, usually coming back to New York. Sometimes I'd take a late night bus. I wouldn't sleep on the bus. I'd write the story. And then when I got done with the story, then I would just kick back and go to sleep and type it up when I got to Ring Magazine.
Wow.
Wow.
What? Speak two things. So speaking of the New York the athletic commission. So one, Larry from New Jersey, he used to be a referee, right, or a judge? Was he a referee?
He was not only was he a referee.
Yeah.
I will argue with anybody. I'll debate them, argue with them, whatever. I think that Larry Hazard was the greatest referee who's ever stepped into the ring. And I'll give you one time, Matthew Saad Muhammad was fighting, I believe it was Jerry the Bull Martin, number one contender for the light heavyweight title. And Matthew Saad lands a left hook. It lands on the chin of Jerry Martin, who freezes in his spot, unconscious, starts to fall forward. And as he was falling forward, Matthew was launching a follow-up right hand. Larry Hazard was right there in position, knocked the right hand down, turned, and basically caught Jerry Martin, who fell into his arms. He didn't have to get hit with that follow-up right hand. He was just an amazing referee.
So, go ahead, Saad.
No, well, I just, it's funny how things line up, and by total chance, I wanted to ask you this question, and this is a perfect segue, in my opinion. But you have chosen officials when you were the commissioner. The biggest story prior to how we led off the show was Steve Willis, Tank Davis, and Roach a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I was ringside.
So give me your thought. Me personally, I think Steve choked. You know, it's just, you know, I just call it like that. I think he choked. So give me your thoughts.
I'm not sure he choked. I think he made a mistake.
Right, well, yeah.
When any fighter takes a knee for whatever reason, that's like saying timeout. Only thing is, there is no timeout in boxing unless it's called by the referee. A fighter cannot take a knee. Somebody asked me the other day, what would happen in a fight? First round, the two guys come at each other, and for whatever reason, one of the fighters drops to a knee without ever getting hit. Well, first of all, he wouldn't have dropped to the knee without getting hit. There's got to be a reason. He drops to a knee. The referee looks at the other guy, sends him to a neutral corner, and he picks up the count, and he counts. It's a knockdown. And that's exactly what happened with Gervonta Davis. And if you look, first you see him kind of look over to his left. Steve Willis was over there. He looks at Willis. Then he turned to his right towards his corner. And as he turns to his corner, then he flops to a knee. I was ringside that night. I was like out of my seat screaming, knockdown. And all the writers looked at me because a lot of the writers, you know, they're not sure the rules. But as soon as I saw him go down, I'm screaming, knockdown. And they said, but he really wasn't hit. I said, he did get hit. It was like a delayed reaction. And even if he didn't get hit, he took a knee. And I swore that I saw Steve Willis kind of signal knockdown. Now,
so go ahead, Zach.
No,
well,
I mean, so all right, maybe it's a little harsh that he choked, but still, that decision affected Lamont Roach's life.
Oh yeah, and
you know, and all it does is open up that ugly word of corruption that boxing can't get away from. You know, it's like you speculate. I mean, look, the error is human, right? And I think Willis messed up. But then, where's the accountability?
There was
You know,
nothing. There was nothing corrupt about it. I mean, Matt DeLoglio does a great job as the executive director in New York. But I think what he needed to do that night, and this is coming from a guy who, when I sat ringside, I patterned myself a lot after Larry Hazard and a couple of the best, both from Nevada, the late great Chuck Minker and his successor, maybe the greatest commissioner ever, Mark Ratner, who, when there was incidents like that, they wouldn't sit there and watch.
mhm.
And I knew when there was a mess up, I would not remain in my seat. I would be up on my feet, waving my arms. I would have had Steve Willis come up. Steve, you called a knockdown. Why'd you wave it off? And I would say, that was a knockdown. Instruct the judges that was a knockdown, and they are to score it as such. Had they scored it as such, you got to realize two of the judges scored it in favor of Gervonta Davis.
Yes.
Those judges would not have scored it for Gervonta Davis. They would have scored it for Lamont Roach. And then, of course, what the commissioner said was, well, being that the two guys then kind of got back into the flow of it, the round ended, and then there were three more rounds. There's no need to change anything. Just let it stay as it is. So he went with the draw ruling, did not make any change. Because he said, maybe if it was a 10-8 round, Gervonta Davis would have fought harder. But you don't know that.
Yeah.
You don't know that. That's
Yeah.
How about maybe if he fought harder, maybe Lamont Roach would have picked up the pace and he would have fought better. To me, it wasn't Gervonta Davis's night. Plus, when he went to the corner, according to the rules, any corner person stepping up on the ring apron or coming into the ring, well, they didn't step on the ring apron, but they did come into the ring because they leaned through the ropes to wipe his eyes. Do I believe he had something in his eyes from his hair? Yes, I believe that. But let's go back to 1964 and a heavyweight by the name of Cassius Marcellus Clay went into the fifth round against Charles Sonny Liston, blinded. And he went back to the corner, and Angelo Dundee did all he could to clear his eyes. And when round 6 started, he gave Clay this message: run. And Clay kept his left hand out in front of him, and he could tell when Sonny Liston was right there. And when he did, he ran some more, or he grabbed onto Liston. He got through that round, beat Liston up in the next round. Liston quit on his stool. But Clay never took a knee. You can't call timeout. And Steve Willis blew it. And as a matter of fact, Larry Hazard said to me last week, I was speaking to him about it. He said, I want you to quote me. In fact, I'm going to send you something that I want you to read on the air if you feel like it. And Larry Hazard's statement was, quote, Steve Willis has to come out and say that he made an honest mistake. When he does that, he will put everything right. But this was on Monday, right after the fight. Why it took the New York State Athletic Commission Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and finally, like on Friday, they made the announcement. It was crazy to wait that long. I would have had it that night. I didn't have to see the tape. I knew what I just saw.
Yeah.
I saw Gervonta Davis take a knee. It was a knockdown. I know what I saw.
Yeah. You was there ringside, and then so this way, like, so with your explanation, right? And then I don't know if Sock said it or if you said it in the beginning, about corruption. It wasn't corrupt, but you gotta question it, or the fans are questioning there's some type of corruptness might have took place because there were multiple errors or multiple mistakes that Willis did. So like you explained the knockdown, the corner coming in, that's a second mistake. The time it took between him, starting the count and stopping it and warning Davis, giving a rest to both fighters. I mean, there were multiple mistakes. The instant replay was not working that night. Isn't there supposed to be an instant replay to rule a knockdown as well if the ref misses it? So that was another thing. So it's hard as a fan or as people on the outside watching this fight and saying, "Hey, what happened?" To not say there was some type of corruptness that might have happened.
And especially when it favors the star.
See, if I was there as commissioner, and I believe I could just speaking to Larry Hazard, I know what he would have done, and a few other commissioners what they would have done. We would have acted. I know I would have acted right then and there. I was there going, "What in the world is going on? Just jump up." You saw what he did. It was a knockdown. And you saw the corner wipe his face. According to the rules, I'm not making this up. The rules say that if the corner enters the ring, and they did enter the ring with their body, with their arm.
Right.
You don't have to step into the ring. Well, if they enter the ring, it's a DQ. Your fighter loses by DQ. He could have lost. See, that's a rule that I hate. I don't like that rule. And that if I could change that rule, I would. That was the next thing that I actually was going to be doing before I unceremoniously left in 1995. I worked for Governor Mario Cuomo. He got voted out. I got thrown out. That's how it works in politics. But the next thing I was going to do is get rid of that entering the ring. Because look, what if a trainer and a fighter have an argument, and that happens all the time, and the trainer decides, he says, "You know what? I'm going to get this guy."
Right.
And at one point, he jumps up into the ring, causing that guy that he's angry at. I don't like the rule. I want to get rid of it.
Okay, but at the end of the day, Commish, it is a rule, and it was a rule that was broken, and it wasn't acted upon. So it just looks it just looks bad on both parties. So another question was asked earlier in the chat. So as far as like the apology that Willis was going to say, not an apology, but admit to making a mistake, does the commission who let me rephrase, who's the ones that act on the referee and kind of disciplines the referee on any mistakes or any wrongdoings? How does that work?
Well, I could speak for me, and I could speak for, I guess, guys that I really know, like a Larry Hazard. That's where the buck stops. If a referee messes up, they're going to be in my office. First of all, at the end of the fight, we always had a team meeting, 5 minutes. Judges, you guys did a great job. I understand how you had a split decision. Those rounds were amazing. You guys did a great job with that. Referees, you picked up that knockdown very, very well, blah, blah, blah. I like the way you handled the corner. And then I would never embarrass anybody in front of the team. I'd say, "Okay, Steve, you did leave a question there. We'll talk further on that." And then I would then call him either later, and I'd say, "Listen, I want you in the office on Monday. And if you can't get into the office, you might be busy at work or whatever. I get it. You got to spend some time on the phone with me, because there's a lot of questions I have to ask you. But I do know this. I would have made a ruling right then and there.
Yeah.
With quantity. I didn't need I didn't need a replay because we all saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have to, am I the only one who saw him take the knee? No, everybody saw him
Right.
take a knee.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Why do the referees are not allowed to get questioned after fights?
Well, you mean interviews after the fight?
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, that's a particular commission. I do know that the California Commission, on many occasions, after the great Tom Taylor or the great Jack Reese have refereed fights, I've called them up and said, "Can I get you on my Sirius XM show tomorrow?" And they said, "Yes, by all means." The California Commission allows that. There are other commissions that don't. New York State does not allow their officials to talk to the media. When I had the commission, I didn't have to answer to anybody else. My boss was the governor, and he once told me, "I'm not going to get involved. You're the expert. You run the commission." And for all the years I did it, not one time did Mario Cuomo ever said, "I wish you had called me." He might call me the next day and say, "You know what? I saw you on television right after that. You did a great job with that. And I'm glad you let the referee talk." I always let my refs talk. I might huddle with them first and say, "Look, you know what you can say. You know that we're going to have an investigation on this. So with an investigation, remember, there's not much you can say because, you're a witness right now and you're going to be questioned by the state police and everything else, whatever it might be." My officials knew what to say, and I gave them the green light. You want to talk, you talk. Now, I'm not going to mention the guy's name, but a couple of years ago in another state, there was a horrible mistake by a referee, and they let him speak. Well, they shouldn't have. He basically got into an argument with the announcer, and he came off looking so awful that the next day it was a topic on my Sirius XM show. Should that have been allowed? And I said, the commissioner of that state allowed it. The referee wanted to do it. The referee could have said no, but the referee said yes and did not come off looking good. You got to remember, let's say like one of the great interviewers out there, formerly of Showtime, Jim Gray. He wasn't there to make you look good. Jim Gray was there to ask you the very tough question. Why didn't you call a knockdown? That was an obvious knockdown. Why didn't you call it? Well, I thought that, well, what do you mean you thought? The rule is your knee touches the ground. It did. It was a knockdown. You started to call it, but then you didn't wave it off. You stopped it. Why did you stop it? A guy like that who interviews you could make you totally look ridiculous.
Yeah.
That happened many weeks ago, right? That the person you won't name is that mistake happened many weeks ago.
Yeah. And every once in a while, you just might be watching some boxing show where there's some controversy, and you will see the official, a judge, get in there. How could you score it like that? Or to the referee, what made you take 2 points on that one issue when it didn't even look like you should take 2 points? And they might come up with something so ridiculous. Well, why would you hold that against him? You were holding it against him. So you were angry and you took 2 points instead of maybe just giving him a warning. You never gave him a warning before.
Yeah.
And it's their job That is their job, and they are doing their job. And basically, nobody does that interviewing job better than Jim Gray.
Okay. Well, Commissioner, I know we just said it, but I just want to clarify for those that are ignorant to the rule, because I've heard different people at different boxing channels say that that's not the rule, or that you're allowed to take a knee, or it's not a knockdown. Can you just clarify again? We just said it, and I agree, but I want people, so that we're not ignorant to the rule. If you take a knee with or without getting punched, is that a knockdown?
Yes, it is, because it's a timeout, and there are no timeouts in boxing. As a matter of fact, if that wasn't a knockdown, do you know how many fighters, men and women, you would see taking timeout? Well, I want to take a knee. You know what? I'm getting a little out of breath. I just want to sit down for a moment. No. The rounds are 3 minutes, 2 minutes for the women. And once the bell rings, the next time you sit down is when the next bell rings 2 or 3 minutes later, or if you are knocked down and you're sitting down. That's it. There is no taking a knee. Everybody, listen up. You can't take a knee at any time. You don't get hit. You want to go down. You know what? I'm thinking of my wife. I miss her. I haven't seen her since training camp. I just want to take a few moments and just think about how much I love her. It's ridiculous. You can take. Who says that? Bring them on the show so we can laugh at them.
I would love to bring certain people on, but they're not going to come on. But I would love to. I'm going to clip this and play it over and over so they know what the rule is. Over and over. Question number 2. What they did with the towel to Gervonta Davis, the corner, was that rules for disqualification?
Yes, it is. Because that's the same thing as jumping up on the ring apron. That's the same thing as jumping into the ring. Look, there have been so many cases when guys run into the ring. Jerry Cooney, years ago in 1982, when he fought Larry Holmes, he was getting pounded. His legs were going. He was basically out of the fight. And the referee was about to stop the fight when Jerry's corner man, Victor Valley, ran into the ring. Technically, that is a DQ. It didn't go down as a DQ because it was a heavyweight championship fight, and the record keepers, they didn't want to take a stoppage away from Larry Holmes. But technically, here's another one for you. The very controversial ending with Richard Steele, Julio Cesar Chavez, and Meldrick Taylor.
Yes.
Final seconds of the fight, Taylor gets knocked down. He gets up. He's taking the mandatory 8. After the 8, Richard Steele looks in his face and asks him a question. How do you feel? What's your name? Whatever it was that he asked him. All he got was a very slow blink of the eyes, like a very uncertain. And then he turned his head to the right because up into the ring was Lou Duva. The round still wasn't over. Technically, it was a DQ. See, that's another one of those reasons I don't like that entering.
And I think that's why that fight, a lot of people question Richard Steele in that fight. And I think that was, in my opinion, I thought with Duva coming on the apron is why he stopped the fight. And everybody's questions, why? It was like a few seconds left. Why? I think Duva threw the confusion, and I think that's why he stopped it, and he shouldn't have been on the apron. That's, in my opinion, that's what I thought.
With all the interviews I've done with Richard Steele, I do think I've asked him about that, and he said yes. As I was looking in his eye, I saw Duva running up. I'm pretty sure I did ask him about that, and with that, I waved it off because the bell still hadn't rung. But the fact is, it's not up to the referee to say, well, there's only 10 seconds remaining. The guy is like this, but maybe he could survive for those 10 seconds. When you feel it's an appropriate time to stop the fight and Meldrick was in very bad shape. And again, all he did was get no answer and a blink of the eye and a turn of the head. So either whether it was Lou Duva or Meldrick Taylor not answering the question, Richard Steele had no choice but to stop the fight. I will always back him on that one.
My friend,
Why
so go ahead, Drew. Go ahead,
no,
yeah.
yeah, why do they not have specific rules for like low blows? Why is it at the discretion of the referee?
Well, as you're watching a low blow, like when Usyk got nailed by Daniel Dubois, the referee actually called it a low blow because many people, and you wouldn't believe how many referees have a discretion, they have their own judgment where below the belt is. What does that mean? Below the belt actually means below the hip line. And all these guys wear their trunks up around their belly button, right? Well, the belly button, you guys could stand up or after the show, I want you to do this because this is going to teach you exactly. I'm going to say, Simon says, put your hands on your hips. And when you put your hands on your hips, you know exactly where you put your hands. That's where the hips are. Anything south of that is a low blow. So you got to remember, they wear the trunks up higher. So let's say it says on the belt, on the name of the company, whatever, or it says Randy on it. You get hit below the Randy, that doesn't mean it's a low blow because where are the hips? The hips are below that. And in the case of Daniel Dubois, does it land below the belt line? Yes. But did it land above the hips? Yes. It was a fair blow, and it knocked Usyk down. But because Usyk is so smart, he has such a high boxing IQ that he said, okay, the referee just called that a low blow. I could be given up to 5 minutes, and my midsection is hurting where I got hit with that right uppercut. I'm going to take all the time I need. And he did. And then once he took that 5 minutes, he recovered and he was back to being Usyk again and then wound up stopping Dubois a couple of rounds later. That's why I do want to see a rematch between the two of them. But a lot of referees don't know where the hips are. So again, guys, off this show, stand up and put your hands on your hips, and you will learn where the low blow. Anything above that, it still could be on the belt line or below the belt line, but it's above the hip area. Below the hips is a low blow.
I just want to go back to a comment that you was talking about the DQ. So a friend of mine says how he learned this. He says to let you know that he actually learned that rule from a boxing movie starring Barbara Streisand. She was in the ring with the stool, and then the ref DQ'd the guy she was working for. He forgot the name of the movie. I don't know. I don't recall the movie as well.
It was called Main Event.
Main Event. Okay.
It was Main Event, and she was in it with oh God, the actor who passed away in the last year or two. He was married to Farrah Fawcett.
I'm bad with actors.
Ryan O'Neal.
And
Ryan O'Neal.
But Ryan O'Neal, yes, there we go. So she was in it with Ryan O'Neal, and it's funny because one time, the first time I met Barbara Streisand, she was filming Prince of Tides, and I got to meet her at Port Authority, and I went into her little tent that they had set up with a big gate surrounding it, and she was introduced. She said, "This is the boxing commissioner in New York." She's, "Come on, want to fight?" And I said, I saw you in main event. And she laughed. She goes, do you know how long it took me to learn how to throw a punch? She goes, but hold your hand up. And she threw a couple shots. I said, not bad, Barbara, not bad at all. So, I mean, that was my one meeting with Barbara Streisand.
That's funny.
Right.
Randy, this has been great. I know we might have a couple more questions. I only have one more question, and you guys could take it away. This has been awesome. I mean, I thought of you, because of the Hall of Fame. We thought of you because of the Tank Davis and Roach situation. So like, this would be great to have you on and just share with us your thoughts and views and what the rules are in most cases. My only question, then you guys can finish up. What did you score the fight without the knockdown? Who do you thought won the fight?
Oh boy, I had it a draw.
Okay.
But I scored on my scorecard. I put question marks there, but I put 10-8 for Lamont Roach. But then I said, I don't know that anybody's scoring this as a knockdown. They should have really made a big thing out of it. So I don't know what the judges are going to do. And the only one who got it right, I think, was Steve Weisfeld.
So you had it a draw with you giving a 10-8 round for Roach in that round?
No,
okay.
I had it. I believe I had a 10-9 for Gervonta Davis, but completely taking out. But
I got you.
I kind of put in a circle. I put 10-8 Roach if knockdown.
Okay, I got you.
But I didn't know that they would call it a knockdown or not. Personally, I told Jerry Cooney from now on, when I talk about Gervonta Davis, I'm going to say that he's the once beaten lightweight champion.
Ouch.
Wow.
That will piss a lot of people from his camp off, but
and a lot of his fans as well.
Hey, does it really matter? To me, it matters because he got knocked down. He went to a knee. He got knocked down. It should have been a 10-8 round. He should have lost the fight. End of discussion.
Yeah. And if you want to be fair, because I was trying to be fair, if you want to be fair, you didn't see. I always have this debate with people about 10-8 rounds. It didn't have to be a 10-8 round. It could have been a 9-9 round. Like, right, they could go to knockdown and maybe Tank won the round. It's not necessarily a 10-8 all the time on a knockdown because the guy could still win most of the round. He gets knocked out. You're basically subtracting the point. So it could have been a 9-9 round.
I'm going to really mix you guys up. You see, when I score a little bit different than most people because I save a lot of my scorecards. And when I go back to those scorecards, I want to see how I had it. 10-9 doesn't tell me the whole story. And 10-8, that usually means a knockdown. But let's say the first two rounds are 10-9 for fighter A, 10-9, 10-9. And then in the third round, he wins it bigger. Doesn't knock the guy down, but punishes him. That third round certainly isn't like the first round or the second round. Those are 10-9 rounds. He won it bell to bell. Why not give him a 10-8 round?
Yeah.
Why not? You've got the points. Tell me why we don't use points. We use 10-9, 10-8, 10-7, something like that.
I was just about to ask you that.
So when I score and I make notations all over the place, the guy just had the snot beat out of him. He was getting beaten up. He gets knocked down. He drags himself to his feet. He gets beat up some more, gets dropped again. You're screaming at the referee, stop the fight already. But he doesn't stop the fight. And the guy gets beat up some more. And the bell finally rings. Well, most judges will score that a 10-7 round. He got knocked down twice. But the fact is, he lost 180 seconds of that round, got beaten up every moment of it, dropped twice. I will make it 10-6. I have even made it 10-5.
Wow.
And then I put in a notation, huge round for whoever. And when I look back a year later, I'll say, wow, I had a 10. Oh, I remember that round. And then I read my notations. But at the end of the fight, you add up all those points and the one with more points. Now, that's like hitting a grand slam home run plus one more. You basically never see a 10-5 round on my card, but you will see a 10-6. And that is like hitting a grand slam home run. And the guy could come back the other way and have himself a 10-6 round. But, let's say it's a 12-round fight. You have 6 rounds for this guy, 6 rounds for this guy. But one of those guys had a monster round.
Yeah.
That fight technically is not a draw. The one who had that one monster round should win the fight. So
I agree. And we don't see that enough. I mean, when guys dominate the round, it should be 10-8.
And let me do this. Well, instead of 10 points where nobody uses the points, you could make it, I'm going to give the winner of the round 1 point. The loser, he doesn't get any points. You knock the guy down, it's a 2-0 round. You knock him down twice, it's a 3-0 round. You beat him up the way I talked about without knocking him down, it could be a 2-0 round. Just use some points. Use your imagination. What kind of round did you just watch? The fighter who won it, did he win it close? Did he win it bigger? And by scoring like that, you really take a lot of these split decisions that you're seeing way too much, because so many rounds are close with the exception of 1 or 2 rounds. I think that scoring just by using points is the way to do it. Watch the fight and tell me who won each and every round.
Mhm.
Was it close? Was it one-sided? Was it almost where the hell is the referee?
I agree.
I just think it makes it easier like that. Keep those questions coming, guys.
Hey, anybody got any questions in the chat? You guys can feel free to write it down and I'll put it on the board.
Yeah, don't be shy.
Randy's giving us time tonight. He said he's got to be up late, so we got time tonight if you guys got any questions.
Well, I think that the other big topic of the week is the announcement of the fight in Times Square, May 2nd.
Oh, my God. Now,
Talk to me.
what we do know is that it's going to be in early May, I think the 2nd or something like that.
May
And
2nd.
what we do know is that there's going to be 3 major fights on the card, not 4, not 5, not 7. There's going to be 3 fights. Every one a very interesting fight.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know is, are they, from what I'm hearing, they are going to put a canopy over the ring because they are going to put it on TV. And if they're going to put it on TV, they got to hang those TV lights from the canopy. And if it rains, of course, or whatever. But who's going to be there? Are they going to sell tickets? How many tickets are they going to sell? Are they going to give it away? Is it going to be the first 200, 300, 400? I don't know. And if that's the case, are people going to start showing up at 8 o'clock in the morning and just sitting in their seats? Are they going to allow us as media? Are they going to have a media section? Because if they don't have a media section, guess what? I'm watching it on TV from home. I'm not coming in for that. unless maybe they'd let me work the corner of one of the fighters or something. But
Right.
no, I'm not coming in if there's not a media section. It's a great idea. And as a matter of fact, did you hear today? I woke up to find out that Turkey Al-Sheikh wants to put on a fight card in Alcatraz.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That, see, to me, that's the perfect card that Adrian Broner should be on.
Wow! Oh my God!
Everybody,
I wouldn't expect that from you, Randy.
everybody
move.
knows in this business that Adrian Broner, every year I have an Adrian Broner award that I give out. The Adrian Broner Award has only been won by Adrian Broner. It goes to the biggest mess up of the year. And he will always find ways to mess up. So, yeah, I mean, I said it, but I say it all the time. I mean, this guy had so much ability, and what he did with that ability. Can you imagine, guys, if you had that kind of ability? If I had that kind of ability, all I would have done is maybe been another Mayweather. He really blew it.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
and he's a charismatic guy too.
Yes.
He's got charisma. He's got a personality.
Well, you know what? So, yes, so did Hector Macho Camacho and guys like that. And Rolly Romero tries to have that same kind of, he's very outspoken. He's in a tough fight against Ryan Garcia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I got a question. Let me ask this question before you go on, because people are writing in the chat. So somebody in the question, the Jab Jamboree, he asked, have you ever disqualified a fighter or overturned a decision of a fight?
No,
No. Okay.
never happened. I had several protests filed while I was commissioner, but each one was when it went to a decision. And it wasn't even like it was a close decision. There were unanimous decisions. One guy made a big stink out of a 4-round fight. His fighter lost all 4 rounds of the fight. Was he competitive? Yeah, he was competitive, but he lost all 4 rounds. He lost at 40-36. Afterwards, the manager and trainer ran over to me, was basically like pushing me, and I wasn't going to lose it and start pushing him back. And I said, do not touch again. You see these guys over here? I have like 4 gorillas around me. Next time you talk to the commissioner, I just nod to them. But
I mean, to kind of touch up on that question, for a protest. Now, I'm still, we're learning the rules with you right now. You're telling us some of the rules. As me as a coach of baseball, knowing some rules in different sports, for rules of a protest has to be something that a rule was broken within the fight, I would think, right? So to protest a fight, you're protesting something that was a ruling that didn't take effect off of a rule that wasn't put in it, like the knockdown. Like the knockdown is a rule that was missed, right?
I never had that happen. The only thing I had, I think, 4 times decisions that upset one of the corners. But I prided myself. My judges, one time a guy was coming in from out of state and he said, am I going to get ripped off? Is this going to be a hometown decision? I said, I absolutely stand by my commission. And as a matter of fact, his guy gave a real good accounting of himself, but didn't win the fight. And he knew that he lost, and he never complained. He knew that it was not a hometown decision, that my guys didn't give every close round to the hometown guy. For the years that I was commissioner, I was very, very proud of every referee and every judge.
Have you ever seen a decision get overturned to a win for another fighter?
I think I have, and I can't put my finger on it. I mean, I think once Greg Haugen in the Hector Camacho fight, I believe they wouldn't touch gloves in the final round, and you don't have to. And I think then Hector smacked him,
Yes.
and the referee took a point away. And I think something was done with that, but I don't recall.
I think
Something tells me that there was a decision that was overturned. I just can't think of which one it was.
That was Padilla, right? That took the point away. The Filipino Padilla.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, come on. I mean,
Yeah.
I realized, Camacho smacked him, but it wasn't, if it was one of these shots which floored him or cut him wide open, he gave him a smack. Hector.
That was his first loss. Yeah,
he was basically being Camacho, but that whole thing opened up. Do you have to shake hands? And the answer is no. And we learned from it because my referees would then say, okay, guys, touch him up. And they would look, don't want to touch him up, go to your corner. You don't got to touch him up.
Okay.
It's funny you mentioned Greg Haugen, and he passed away not
Rest
so
in
long
peace.
ago.
I love Greg. I loved him.
Yeah, any experiences with Greg Haugen?
Yeah, and I mean, I tried to get for years Greg Haugen back together with Vinny Pazienza, but they never liked each other. If I asked Greg about Vinny, he'd say some choice words, and if I asked Vinny about him, he'd have some choice words.
And I think Vinny's going to join you in the Hall of Fame, right?
What's that?
Vinny Pazienza was
Yeah,
elected, also, so
yeah.
full circle.
I'm proud to say, I did vote for Vinny because I really did want to see Vinny get in, and I voted for Michael Nunn, who got in, and I voted for Manny Pacquiao. So I was on the money with all those winners.
It's nice. It's good to see Michael Nunn in the Hall of Fame. I think he deserves it.
I think. What do you think of Iran Barkley?
I believe that Iran Barkley deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and I know this, and I think Junior Jones from New York does too.
Yes.
And when I'm up in Canastota, I'm gonna open my mouth and I'm going to say there are a few guys, there's a lot of guys who belong in the Hall of Fame. And sometimes you got to just wait maybe longer than you think or hope or wish. But I do believe that Iran Barkley and Junior Jones are two of those guys who really belong in Canastota.
Are they on the ballot, or were they recently put on the ballot? They're not even on the ballot?
Nope. And I will be using my Hall of Fame voice now to let people know that they should be at least on the ballot. Give the balloters a chance to see their name and to check their name. Right now, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
There's another fighter that I think we mentioned the last time from Connecticut that should be on the
Marlon Starling.
There's another guy. Yeah, he should be on. Is he on? I don't even know if he's on the ballot.
You know what? John Scully on, forget it.
I really, I pray that for the next one, Marlon Starling, the Magic Man, can get on that ballot, because as we know, boxing many times doesn't treat its performers very fairly in the long run. And Marlon is starting to show the effects of his long career. And I would hope that if he gets into the Hall of Fame, he will be able to enjoy it if he gets in now. So Marlon is going to be another guy. Marlon and Junior Jones and Iran Barkley, the three guys that I really will push for. And there's one more that I got to really shoot for. And that's the guy that I've been working with for 16 years, gentleman Jerry Cooney. How many guys are out of the ring for 35 years? I walk down the street in New York City. I could be in California. We've been in Vegas, walking down the strip. Cabbies will be yelling out, "Hey, Jerry Cooney." Everybody knows him. He is just a very popular guy. Look, he lost 3 fights to 3 of the best fighters of all time. He lost to Larry Holmes, Michael Spinks, and to George Foreman. He had a drinking problem. He was actually in that Michael Spinks fight hung over. So as far as I'm concerned, he really lost to Foreman and to Holmes. And everything he's done, he has helped more people. A lot of fighters have come to him and said, I have a drug habit, a drinking problem. Can you help me, Jerry? The answer is always yes. Jerry has done stuff that I don't know what category he'd go in. Maybe there should be a category called other. Was he a Hall of Fame fighter? I think he was a damn good fighter with a hell of a left hook, hell of a body puncher. But in the 50 some odd years this guy has been in the game. He has done nothing but good stuff in boxing. Why shouldn't he be in the Hall of Fame? And I'll be using my Hall of Fame voice for the Coonies and the Marlon Starlings and the Barkleys and the Junior Jones.
Well, Cooney could be kind of like boxing's Phil Rizzuto, right? Because Phil Rizzuto got into the Hall of Fame late, as a Yankee, and not really as a player, but more as like in broadcast as announcer, because he was on a great team. So right?
Yep. Quick Phil Rizzuto story. One time when I was commissioner, I was playing in a golf tournament, and I was on Phil Rizzuto's. We were in a foursome. I'm in a sand trap, and they're telling me, I don't know what I'm doing in there. He said, just hit the dirt behind it and pop it up. Well, I pop it up. It flies out of the sand trap, hits the stick, and drops straight down into the hole. Phil Rizzuto yells, "Holy cow!" I actually got a holy cow out of the scooter.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, Huckleberry.
I got another question in the chat. How do you feel about premature stoppages by the referees?
Look, you could go the other way. See, how do you feel about a referee who let the fight go on too long? And I could give you a couple of names, which, look, there are two names. These guys one of them is in the Hall of Fame. Let so many fights go on way too long. A referee is in there to give you his opinion. And I think referees are better trained now than they've ever been. They have courses, seminars. There's going to be one held by referee Jack Reese, Thomas Taylor, who's now the #1 referee in California with Jack Reese's retirement, and Russell Mora. These guys hold a seminar, and it's well attended. Guys come in from all over the country, all over the world for their seminars. And that's what boxing needs more of, to actually look at the fighter, to assess the damage he's gone through, to look in their eyes, and to assess whether the man is concussed or not. That's why you see so many guys motioning to the fighter, take a step to me. Give me that, we call it the sobriety test. Because sometimes he's selling the stoppage. Because if the guy steps to him, takes one step or to the right or to the left, and he staggers and stumbles, the referee waves his arms, and everybody in the building won't start booing and throwing things because they saw that the guy just stopped it. So the referees are really trained more than ever to know when to stop it. But you are going to see your premature stoppages. But I think those are becoming rare, just more rare to see that kind of quick stoppage. And on the other side of the coin, the stoppage where you're standing up screaming, "Ref, stop the fight." There were so many great fights. Remember, I think it was the second fight between Alvaro Yaqui Lopez and Matthew Saad Muhammad at the Playboy Club in, I think it was 1980 in Great Gorge, New York. I was sitting ringside for the fight. It was the second time that I ever saw members of the media standing up screaming, "Stop the fight, stop the fight." The referee let it go back and forth and back and forth. As a matter of fact, I think the first time that I ever saw it was in the Jerry Cooney Kenny Norton fight. If you watch that one again, how many left hooks does Kenny Norton have to get hit with before referee Tony Perez finally jumped in there? Because I thought that Jerry that night, when I was looking at Kenny slumped in a corner on the ropes, I thought he was dead.
Yeah, it didn't look. I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember watching that. It looked bad.
That was a slow stoppage.
I remember Steve Smolder. It's subjective, it's a fine line, because I mean, as fans, you want to see that drama. Gotti Ward may get stopped, by other referees or Diego Corrales and Castillo. Yeah.
Oh my God, that was an
It's a
incredible
sharp guy.
topic. Well, let's just talk Steve Smoger for a second. I don't want to talk bad about the dead, but
It's okay.
he had a couple of
He said it's okay.
I
one of
mean,
one of the fights where he was dreadfully slow was a knockout of Roy Jones Jr., who was fighting, I think it was over in Russia, and he was fighting, God, what was the guy? Dennis Lebedev.
Lebedev.
And Lebedev had him in a corner,
That was
and
crazy.
Roy's arms were basically at his side. He was hanging forward. Lebedev looked at Smoger, who waved him on, said, "Nope, keep going." And he nailed Roy with one more shot where Roy fell face down unconscious. That was uncalled for.
That was crazy. Yeah. Well, I mean,
So
like you said, I mean, you don't want to speak ill of the dead. He can't defend himself. But if you do any research on Steve Smoger, he wasn't the nicest guy outside of the ring.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's not the easiest job. I mean,
No.
we can criticize here from watching on TV. It's a tough job.
It certainly is. And, you might think that you could do a great job refereeing, but until you get in that ring and you've got the two guys, I always say this about the judges. If they screw up, they hold the livelihood of the fighter in their hands.
Mhm.
The referee holds the life of the fighter in their hands. You stop a fight one punch too late, it could be the end of the guy's life. That's what boxing can do. You can't let it get anywhere near there. You got to get to the corner every round. Even in a fight where guys just taking jab after jab after jab, get to that corner and look at the guy. Way too many cornermen don't do that. They just see their fighter and they see a win. You got to get out there and hit him, keep your hands up. But meanwhile, their guy's getting blasted.
Yeah.
That's where Buddy McGirt many times has pulled the plug on his own fighter.
Well, Commish, I don't have anything else. This has been fantastic. This has been one of the better interviews we've done. And a lot of knowledge and gems being dropped today. I definitely appreciate your time. This was awesome. You gave us more time than what I was expecting. So this was awesome,
guys. It was great. And let me just dig back into my old Muhammad Ali journals. I like your show. I admire your style, but your pay is so cheap. I won't be back for a while. Not really.
Well, since you said that, I told you earlier, Rich would like to have you on, and he would like to interview you too. So maybe we'll do something. And I have another friend of mine that would love to have you on as well. We'll talk. I'll talk to you about that tomorrow, if anything.
Cool. Just give out my number. Anybody you want. I love doing these. I love you guys. Socrates, man, I haven't seen you in a while. You be well. And
thank you. And
D, I hope it wasn't anything I said that you stayed very quiet there, but I love you.
I like the story, so I was listening and taking notes.
Yeah. D-Free's my guy, because Sock, you haven't seen Sock in a long time. We barely see Sock too. He comes on late. He's always busy. He's got like 8 jobs. I don't know anybody that has more jobs than Socrates, Commish.
Well, you know what? In this day and age, I guess having a job is a great thing. So having a couple of jobs is a real great thing. Keep going, Socrates.
Thanks, Tom. Uncle Sam.
Thank you, Commish. You take care and you have a great night.
Thank you, Randy. Happy birthday.
All right.
All right. Let's see. Hold on here.
That was great.
Okay. Commiss, we're gonna let you go, and then we're gonna sign off. All right.
You got it.
All right. The commissioner, the commiss, Randy Gordan, guys. This was awesome. I only expected to have him on maybe like in half an hour, ask him questions, the Tank Roach fight, and then talk about the Hall of Fame. And he gave us a bunch of stories, and he broke down the rules well, which I thought was fantastic. And nobody knows the rules better than he does. Former commissioner, former editor-in-chief of the Ring magazine. Read the description. I put some of his bio in the description. And that was awesome. I mean, listen, I think we got a lot of good information. People tuned in. Hopefully they got, something out of it. Yeah, man, this was dope.
Yeah, that's what we do. We put on dope shows. It's a bad habit. It's a damn bad habit.
Sak, you're one of a kind, bro. I swear to God.
I guess
that's why we've been friends for so many years.
I can't believe you missed the joke. Well, I was like, that happened weeks ago.
I know exactly what you was talking about.
Man.
Many weeks ago.
I dropped the ball.
Yeah, you did, bro.
I got it now. Did Commiss get the joke? Because I missed it.
No.
He didn't get the joke either?
Commiss didn't want to say he said he didn't want to say the name, so Shock was like, that happened
Sock said
many
the weeks.
ago.
Okay, see, it went way over. My bad, Sock.
Off the wall. 2 runs will score.
Don't hand the ball off to me on the 1 yard line.
Oh man,
Jesus Christ!
He's my coach now. So
Huh?
He's my coach now. Anyway, well, Randy's off. I was gonna ask him because we are in women's.
I was about to say something about him. He's the one that sanctioned the first women's card, I think, or the first women's fight. And it was like in '95, I think it was. So that's one of the things he's known for the New York State, like to sanction that. And then, but it's in the description, so we didn't get to. And it is Women's Month, so I didn't get to. I wanted to, but he had so many stories and stuff, which I thought was excellent. So shout out to my man Johnny Boy Boxing with the super chat. My man Johnny Boy, what's good, Johnny Boy? I'm gonna give you a call tomorrow too, bro. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for the super chat. That's my guy, Johnny Boy. I don't think I'm going to the fight Sunday, but we'll talk. We'll talk later.
You work from home tomorrow, Tom, right?
Yeah.
All right, so you pass over those $10. That's lunch. You don't need it.
It's crazy how he knows my schedule. Like he knows I work from home and everything. But,
Lisa told me.
Yeah, so I don't think I'm going to go to this card Sunday. I got the credentials for it, but they've been doing some good promotion for that. They had them at Monday Night Raw. They had him at the Empire State Building. Kalen Walsh.
He's him.
You going to the Duran card, right?
That's in April. I'm thinking about going to that. I'm going to fill out the credentials for that one. Yeah.
I'm
Atlantic City.
I think I'm.
I sent it to you too. Did I send it to you? I could have sworn I sent it to you also. If I didn't, I'll send it to you. The credentials for the Boots fight, fill it out. You never know. I know. Clarence has it. Clarence is in the chat. What's good, Clarence? Clarence is going to be at the fight Sunday. He got credentials to this too. So tomorrow's the press conference, and then the weigh-in is on Saturday. But I don't think I'm going to go.
Kalen Walsh is going to be the face of that promotion.
I think so. And that's what we were talking about earlier. And I spoke to Randy about it yesterday. I think he's going to be one of the first guys under that TKO because Dana already has these fighters, and he has a few good fighters there, they're solid guys, serviceable. I like them. I think they're really good fighters, but but they're definitely going to be, and I think Kane Walsh is going to be kind of like the first big guy they get,
Kane Sandoval,
Omar Trinidad, who I like a lot.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. A couple of the guys from the UFC, the guys.
You think?
Pereira, I could see. Look, he's already got the name, so it's the easiest. Yeah. So it's gonna be
I got his CDK up. We did an interview about 2 weeks ago with Phoenix Trinidad's nephew. I was going to hit him up to get his number for you so you can have him on the show.
Okay, yeah, I saw that one. I watched a little bit of it. He's out in Colorado, right? It's weird. He said he lives in Colorado. So he doesn't look like Trinidad much, but yeah, I mean, we could talk to him, see what he got on, what he got going on, you know. Another guy, now that we think about it, and Clarence, if you go into we'll talk tomorrow. If you're going to the press conference, and Johnny Boy, you're going to the press conference, link up with the strength and conditioning coach. I have his number. I might text him tomorrow morning. Being that I'm not going to go, he's an interesting guy to speak to. He works in the gym with the Freddie Roach and the Wild Card gym, and he works a lot of fighters, strength and conditioning. So I think that would be good to have him on as well. You know, his name is Pedro. He's Puerto Rican cat from I think Los Angeles. So try to link up with him, and I'm gonna text him tomorrow. So I've been meaning to have him on for a while, and I just keep kind of forgetting about it. So, but that'll be good. Like Sock, you get on, you and him talk about strength and conditioning and stuff. You know, he works with Kalen Walsh, he works with Kane Sandoval, and a few other Freddie Roach fighters in the gym. So nice guy. So, but yeah, man, this was great. It's past my bedtime, you know, but I work from home, guys. As Sock told you. So,
yeah. And, you know, you talk about jobs.
Talk about what?
You talk about my jobs. I only get a W-2 for one of them.
Well, look, that's you. I never said that. That's you. You just snitched on yourself.
I did.
Yeah, Jesus.
But that's what it's for.
I only get a W-2 on one of them. Just snitched on yourself. Good job.
Yeah, good job. And then we got Katie. Katie and Amanda. Amanda gets to get robbed again, right?
Dog. I swear to God, if she get robbed again, Serrano might as well say, look, here's my bank account, here's my purse, here's everything, just take it all. Y'all just keep robbing this girl blind.
We riding. You know, that's what we ride, Tom.
Yeah. Sock came up with an idea the other day. Was it yesterday, day before? You had a couple guests that you think we should have on for because it's Women's Appreciation Month, or what is it this month?
Appreciation Month.
What is it called? What is it called? Women's History Month. Appreciation. Same thing.
Yeah, you know, gotta work the gimmick.
So Sock had a good idea. He had a few people he wanted to bring up. Sock, you gotta produce. You gotta make those connections. Okay. So. The one I sent you, the trainer, I think the trainer would be great as well. So we can have them all on. The two promoters do what's her name?
We gotta make sure Sock schedule is good, because the last time we had a fighter on, a person on that Sock brought, Sock ain't make it.
Which one was that? Which one was that one?
I think it was a young kid. I think he was somebody, he was working with Sock. I think it's somebody that Sock was working with.
Was it Peter?
Oh, Pete. Yeah, you didn't do the Pete Dobson interview with us. Yeah. Sock is not a fan of Pete Dobson.
I mean, I fucks with Pete, but he's a fireman now.
Yeah, he's a fireman now.
Yeah. Going to say, Puerto Rico got a new champ. The flyweight champ in Japan. It was an upset.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. Some dude. He was like 13-4. He got a unanimous decision over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Hey, that's definitely, Japan don't be letting their fighters loose.
That's true. All right. Well, I mean, I figure we go on again tomorrow night. We could talk boxing as a card Friday. Our guy Ricardo has a fighter on defending his title against Jalil Hackett, Jose Roman.
The rematch is tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. Saturday's a rematch.
And this is what I want to ask you before we get off. What y'all gonna do about receivers in Seattle, dog?
Oh man, I don't want to talk about it. I don't understand. We signed. What's this guy's name? Scantlin. He was with Green Bay. Seattle signed. Huh?
I mean, Montez Valdez Scantlin.
Scantlin, yeah. We signed him, but listen, I don't know. I mean, we have Nick Jigba. He's great, but we need other receivers.
Who's it?
Darnold. They signed Darnold.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I don't talk about, but I figured.
y'all should have made some trades with the Colts because they got receivers. The quarterback, y'all got a quarterback. Y'all ain't got no receivers.
That's the thing. They're going to rely on the draft. They got some picks, which I thought the picks were pretty good. They got a second for DK. I thought that was good. They got a second round pick for DK. I thought that was a great pick, and they got a third round for Geno. I thought that's excellent as well. Okay. So I think
it'd be because it's a lot of receivers and a lot of running backs in this draft. So y'all should be able to come away with some good guys. I don't know how they're going to pan out in the NFL, but
you never know. That's what I'm saying. The draft, it's hit or miss sometimes. So, speaking of the draft, Sock, did you see Gio in the chat?
Yes.
He saw
my
Ryan.
Main guys.
Yeah, he said about when I was dying. I was laughing when I saw it.
My main guy.
Gino now. Y'all got
my
Gino
main
now.
guy. When I saw that, because he was listening the whole time, and once you said the name, he said. But I think tomorrow we'll talk about the fight Saturday, right, coming up. I'm gonna see if we get lucky, maybe I could get Ricardo to maybe come on as well, if and maybe bring Jose Roman with them. So maybe we could get him, maybe promote the fight a little bit, and then we could talk a little football tomorrow night too. We could talk about the signings, and Sock, you could talk about your Raiders, and D Free can't talk enough about his Commanders. So maybe we'll do that tomorrow.
We're doing all right. It's not what I expected, but I'm not mad.
The return of Berlanga.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The card. He's on the Berlanga card.
We definitely got to talk about Berlanga because Berlanga went off on Eddie. Oh my God, he should be.
I don't know why.
And the guy he's fighting. I mean, look, everybody deserves a second chance, but the dude's he's an ex-dope fiend.
What I heard was he's mad at Eddie for putting him on the undercard of Amo's fight. He was for Canelo, and you got me fighting on the undercard. So he felt like Eddie basically did that because that's his last fight with Eddie Hearn. He's not signed after this fight.
Fighting. But he turned down a lot of fighters.
He turned out. Yeah, he didn't want to fight nobody good.
Yeah, the
guy Eddie got him Canelo.
He said he wanted to fight Caleb Plant. He wanted to fight.
That's cap.
He said.
That's cap.
He said. Yeah, I know. I'm just going by what he said. He said.
Plant
wanted to fight the Charlo. He wanted to fight somebody else, and I'm like, dog, but you didn't fights.
Yeah, he better not lose. I'll tell you that much.
Listen, this dude was he. If you see him, he's an ex-dope fiend. He used to fight at 47.
I'm gonna tell you what. He's probably going to be the next guy to sign over there to TKO.
I can see that.
Good for him. I mean, and maybe he'll fight somebody good, because when he fights somebody good, he's going to get, exposed. Look, I don't know why he's mad at Eddie. Eddie just got him the Canelo fight, and he got life-changing money.
And speaking of Canelo, did you hear Eddie talk about that he may sell the company or retire?
Who?
Eddie I didn't hear that.
Yes. He said that in an interview that he may that he may be done with boxing very soon.
Wow.
Who said that?
Eddie Hearn.
Eddie Hearn.
Oh yeah, because he mad about the whole Dana White situation. He thought partners with Turkey.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting. But anyway, guys, let me get out. But hopefully, I'm gonna work on tomorrow. So those are some things we could talk about. The Berlanga card. I'll see if our guy Ricardo could come on maybe for a few minutes, promote the fight, and then we can talk a little football. Saying we got full March Madness is coming up. I would like to do a show March. I don't follow college basketball much, but D Free, I know you watch a little college basketball, Sock, and then we have a good friend of ours that he's a Big East fan. Put it this way, he knows everybody in the Big East. So I would like to have him on talk about the tournament once it's selected. So.
Hey, I'm not even gonna lie. I haven't watched no college basketball this season.
Oh, so then you can't be on.
I've been all on football and boxing. For some reason, I haven't watched college this year. College basketball.
Me either.
Well, Election Sunday is Sunday, so let's see if we get on maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, do a little preview.
Yeah, let's get Los. I want to get Los. Los his stuff. So, and then what we could do is D Free. We'll talk to Southern T. I think Southern T would be perfect to go with Los and Sock, and they could talk college basketball. Maybe do the bracket selections. Yeah,
I know. T definitely follows it. He follows it closely.
So you know what, Sock? This weekend I'm gonna call call Los, like on the phone. Forget the chat. I'm just gonna call him and be like, "Yo, what's good?" See his schedule, and then I'll call Southern T, and then we'll make it happen. I think that'll be a great show because they both know their stuff when it comes to and Sock knows his stuff too. So I would have Brett on too, but Brett's Mr. Know-It-All. So
I think this is gonna be a crazy tournament, and go Johnnies.
St. John's, yeah, they playing great. Good for the Johnnies.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, I'm done. You guys were great. I appreciate you guys. This was another great show. Appreciate everybody that came through, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night on Friday Night Sports Talk. Peace.
Yep.
Peace.
Peace.